Do us a quick favor, guys. Hit the follow, subscribe button. Share this with someone who would benefit from it. And help us grow, as the more we grow, the better the episodes we'll get. Thanks, guys, for helping us. And let's get into the episode.
And he's here. He is here. Cristiano has entered the building. Welcome, wherever you are, to the Old Trafford Theatre.
Yes, guys, welcome to this episode of SCULPTED Podcast. Today we have Tim Fred here, and Tim, thank you so much for your time today. It is an honor to have you on, speak with you, to learn more about you and to understand a bit about your journey and how we see the man in front of us today, and to talk about where you want to go in the future as well. So if you could give a quick introduction to our listeners, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So, and it's such like, I live here in Miami. I am a salesperson by trade. That's basically what I do. I've had a few obsessions in my life. I competed in mixed martial arts for a few years. I've ran a couple of marathons, 3 100-mile ultra marathons. Got officially. I'd like to just take my phone and the credit card.
Wow.
Yeah, that's basically the background. I've been a top performance salesperson. I fall off the wagon. At a current backing position and competing as a.
That's amazing. So there's quite a lot of competition there, sounds like, in terms of all aspects.
I found sales and it works perfect for me. I went to university for marketing, and in 1 month I had 3 different people tell me, "Tim, you should probably try sales. You would be good at sales." And I always, if you hear it, please. I found the CEO of a company through a mentor with one of the programs. I saw that he was looking for employees. So I saw that someone had got the opportunity and they followed it. And I took a video and sent it to the CEO and offered that I could help this company. I feel like I do very well as a salesperson for him. They flew me out to Miami for an interview. I came out, did about on the interview because I got a call back and moved out about 2 weeks later to Miami. This was 3 years ago. And I had found that sales is very competitive. It's the business world for athletes. The synergy between sports and sales is very, very similar. There's constant cycles, there's winners, there's losers, there's points, there's scores, there's results. And
Yeah.
quarter that we got to deliver numbers. So it's very competitive.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And actually, even you saying how it's the sports equivalent in business, I think Tim Grover, I remember seeing something that he actually mentioned, saying that his business guys, there is no off season. It's harder being one of these guys than some of the athletes. And yeah, I think that it's something that a lot of athletes probably could even transition to, because it's something that they would relate to if they're not done with their competition. And it's interesting, right, for you when with your MMA, right? That's also very competitive. It's very responsive competitiveness. It's instant feedback. I think getting punched in the face. It's a very, very different form of competition compared to, for example, football. For myself, soccer, 90 minutes of competition, and then even the position that I play, I'm a goalkeeper, and I'm only responding to other people's reactions. So it's the crazy world sports, and then in business, it's even crazier, I think. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and the mindset of all that, but the mind goes. That's what's so great about Grover. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. But I've learned so much about it's the mindset that you need to go. You can be defeated. I can be defeated before I even show up to the office. I could be defeated before I even get on the sales pitch and pitch these people if my mind's not ready. I can also be in a play position of feeling very confident and have done my daily consistent habits to attack my mind optimal for that. Or for the soccer day, the mind games, you got your competition. Maybe the other team is kind of saying neat things about you before the game and you heard about it. Well, there's all these different ways of the mind games come into play as well. And it's very interesting and very exciting to learn, this learning what your pitfalls are, the things that can get into your mind and understand them, and they minimize them as much as possible, and then get to observe yourself become better and better as a competitor, whatever you do with soccer or sales.
Yeah, 100%. And that's actually exactly what I call sculpting, which is the name of the podcast. And it's getting to the closest version of your best self, and it's going through the preparation and doing that due diligence to get there. So it's a massive process and something that is shared between athletes and the business world quite closely, I think. But with that, I want to go into the 10 quick fire questions for you. And you've already gone through a little bit, but we can go through the first one, which is, what's your favorite sport to watch or play?
Okay, so it used to be football. My father is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. One of my favorite memories is we got to go to a Steelers game together. So it used to be football, but I don't watch any sports at all anymore. I've not seen one NFL game this year, but I do watch MMA. So MMA, rarely if there's a really good boxing match, I just happen to be somewhere where it's on, I'll sit and watch it. And even the MMA, I haven't had time to watch it. And when I say MMA, I'm referring to mainly the UFC, but there's also other promotions. But for me, it's the UFC.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And
Who is your sport hero or role model? This could have been also when you were younger.
Really seems like a thing. It was Michael Jordan. I'm a big fan of John Jones. I'm a big fan of John Jones. I love John Jones a lot, but when it comes to someone that just kind of, it almost blows my mind how they could be that iconic. Uh, it's got to be Michael Jordan.
I was expecting that. Huh? Yep. I like heavy a lot. Yeah. Awesome.
To, I had a night there.
Yeah, awesome. All right, if you could attend any major sporting event, which one would it be?
It actually might be the Super Bowl Cup.
Okay.
And I'm not just saying that to appease you. Like, it was like an off-season soccer game when I was in London, and it felt like I was at a playoff game in America. Like the way the fans go for a soccer game, it was so cool to be a part of. And it was a bit wild. People, you know, either even yelling at each other side by side, but they were so engaged with the game. It was amazing to be a part of that. So I was
Different level.
UFC events. So you're saying one, go see. It would probably be the Super World Cup, but it's not. It would be a heavyweight fight, John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. But
Awesome. Yeah, the World Cup would be crazy. What games did you watch in London?
it was Leeds.
Yeah.
I believe it was Leeds versus Arsenal.
Okay. Interesting. That's not even a crazy rivalry, so I'm surprised that it was even that hectic. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I could imagine. All right. What's the last book that you have read or listened to?
I'm currently listening to a book called Confident in Mind. I don't want to get the author's name on it. I believe it's Nate Soser, but there's some of the thing we want to check that book out that you verify the author. But it's called The Confident Minds, and it's been extremely helpful to me. That was recommended to me by my coach and mentor I'm working with right now. And well, it's in the title what the book's about, but it's just different ways to have confidence, limiting beliefs, and how to be. And what I like about the book is it's tailored to high performance athletes. So this guy was working with NFL players, soccer players, Olympic athletes. So it's very much tailored to that athlete's mindset of competition, the mental war that we have to deal with, and how to get the most confident mode you can while playing those arenas. And that's
Very interesting. It sounds like a good book. I actually haven't heard of it, so I might check that one out. Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Do you have a favorite quote?
to add a favorite quote. Tell you a quote that I heard this morning, and it's if you have a hero, you can only ever be second place. I believe the quote is if you have a hero, the best you can ever be.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. I think that's even something I've had to come to terms with. Like, you can't put people on such a high pedestal if you want to be above them or even like them. And it's definitely I haven't even heard of a quote like that, but that's something that I also um have started to believe in a lot more recently, which I like that one a lot. Um, what is it like being in your shoes for an average day?
Say it was so I'm gonna, so if I don't win, it's 1,440 minutes of the day. I only 1,410. I'm in trouble. So my average day is from I wake up at 4:30. I get on my heels. I listen. I have my own meal at the gym. I get home. I get ready quick. I'm at work by 8. I usually stay till 7 p.m. I'll either stay till about 7 p.m. have a meeting after. If not, I go home. I take a walk with no phone or anything. And ideally, I'm in bed by 1 p.m. I'm on a very regimented cycle right now. That's a day life.
I like it. I like it.
I don't think exciting is necessarily a good thing. I think my life of traveling at the moment with trying to find a new place to live, all of this, for other people they might find this exciting, but I'm waiting to get back into that horrible feeling of waking up and then realizing no, it's not a horrible feeling. I'm ready to conquer the world. That's what I really love. It's just that monotonous feeling of repetition and pain almost. I actually strive for that a lot.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about that? When you wake up in the morning and it sucks and you feel like shit, you're supposed to. So what I found out is you actually have to get your body oxidized. You have to get the oxygen flowing for you to actually even feel good. So we can only. It's very easy to wake up pissed and frustrated. It's like that. Nothing needed. You can just wake up like that. So get happy. You have to get going and get your body moving to actually create that blood flow. I don't know the science of it. I don't
You know it works.
see. I see it's true every time I hit the gym. And
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. All right, if you could meet any athlete or coach, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
like a joy, just asking those.
Brilliant. All right. What is the most valuable lesson that you've learned from sports or just general self-development and improvement?
And it's worth it.
Hmm.
And it's worth it. I can get very. I've had many points to life where I've gotten very frustrated, thinking I'm doing something wrong. Why don't I have all the answers yet? Why do I keep having a struggle? Will the problems ever stop? Am I doing this right? So on and so forth. Why? these mistakes can be so painful. The humiliation, the coming into something being brand new, and the humility and all this that you have to endure to develop those skills and fall down in front of people and make the wrong career choices and all this stuff. But I always end up coming to a place where I'm I'm glad I went for it, even if it went wrong. And I'm sorry that you come along with a vague answer, but the simplest way to put it is
No, I like that a lot. Yeah, brilliant. Um, do you have any fitness or health goals that you're currently working on?
look to get chopped up. I've never worked out for physical areas. I've always hit the gym. I'll run because I'm an addict and I like running. I like the way I call them going on fun. So I go on when I go on fun through journeys. I just start running in a direction and I keep going for a long time. When I work out, I lift really heavy things. That's how I used to do it, but there was never a plan to it. So yes, now I am working out I have specific macros, I have a specific diet I'm on, I have specific workouts I'm doing. I would like to have a visible six pack because I've never really had that in my life. So like, why not? Why? Let's see what it feels like. Let's see what it feels like. And just
Yeah,
so that's what I'm working out right now. I was 205 pounds 28 days ago. I'm now 196. I woke up this morning, so I'm down 9 pounds. I'll see how I look around 185 at it.
Amazing. Wow. All right. Now, if you could compete in any professional sport, or we can even expand on that. If you could compete at any level, whether it's in business, sports, what would you do if there was no limitations on you ever?
Hey, I be a public speaker. I be a public speaker. You know, my anything was like the UFC, and I do love fighting, but at a certain point, my mission is kind of to help people. It's whatever the opposite of what I was doing at my lowest point. And at my lowest point, I was thinking only of myself and helping no one. In fact, I was a burden to other people. So what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that is helping lots of people. So I would be a public speaker because that's a very competitive. I'll tell you, I spoke once out at a conference and I got the same exact butterflies that I did before.
yeah,
It is competitive. Other people are there to get the attention of the crowd, so to have their name and their message be all that resonates and works. And I can see that those are very competitive fields, so I would love to become a master at that at some point in my life. And I never thought about this or said this in my life. This is just an impulse response to what you just said.
interesting.
Yeah, that's. I did see that you had done the speech, well, I guess the speech before. So yeah, it's very interesting. I haven't even heard of anyone necessarily speak about that in a competitive way, but that does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's just like Canadian soul or anyone else. You're going out to you want to win the crowd. You want to make sure that you get your message across that resonates with people. It sounds like all a feeling, something that gets them to change, something to think about, and other people are looking to do the same exact thing. And, I'm sure it's an unspoken thing, but that's a very
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's go into part one. Now, I'm still relatively young, and my journey is quite often an exception from most. Um, but talking about your journey, what was it like growing up at your age when you were in I'm not too sure where you were before you moved to Miami, but tell us a little bit about your early life.
I was born and raised in New Jersey. Yeah, my father was a pastor of a Baptist church, Pastor Fran. I was raised in that. It was majority of my young childhood. We moved to California when I was about, even then, I mean, it's like childhood and ages. Some people are like, when I was 7 years old.
I'm clueless as well. Yeah, yeah, same.
Well, you know, around the age of 11 or 12, I don't, we moved to California. We moved around a few times. We rarely moved to Michigan. We did a lot of youth. We did a lot of moving. My dad was not military, as I mentioned, he was a pastor, but if you liked to move, we would pack everything up in a Penske truck and move and move again and move again. So we
Wow.
eventually stayed in California. My dad was a pastor of a church on an Indian reservation, a Millennial Indian reservation. That was an interesting time period in my life. Without a doubt, definitely showing the laws of who I am. It was an intense period in my life. I was exposed to a lot of different things. Um, I had a lot of bad idea. I was exposed to a lot of different things, bad and good, from drugs to kind of gay culture behavior to the beautiful side of the culture. And that was a formative period of my life. I went to a high school I ended up getting expelled because we had a fight club that we had organized. I got in several fights. It was a very, it was a great state or the town where I school was at. And I got in a few fights, and then eventually I was called Ocala as part of this fight club that we had started in the bus yard at the school, which probably was the smartest idea ever. And they expelled me from that school. So not long after that, my other brothers were also getting in some trouble. Yeah, we were just a bit misguided. And I decided to move. So we moved to Ohio and I went to high school in Ohio, and then I went to college at Kent State University. And there's a lot of stuff that kind of get over there. On my childhood, it was very interesting. I was constantly the new kid in school. So I was always a that nerdy kid. It's still pros of some codes, the girls are like, who's this new guy? It's has some pros in that area, but the guys are like, who's this new guy? And has some codes in that area. And and there's like, and so constantly being a new kid at school, constantly having to make new friends, constantly having to say goodbye to my friends when you're young. That's like a big deal. It's like, Dad, I just made friends and I have to say bye to them already. Yeah, so we were always moving. I was always in a new school. Obviously, that being a white kid on the Indian reservation was an interesting experience. Being exposed to a lot of the darker side of life in some areas was it just was definitely part of my childhood. And and there was some personal stuff too with family, but all in all, it was intense in a very interesting way. And then I go to Colorado, and then I go to college. Oh, that was a journey for me as well. I struggled with addiction maintenance in college, just not really admitting that I had issues with it, and doing my best to get through college, and it wasn't a straight to a clear journey. I definitely made a lot of mistakes there. I learned a lot. I was the first person in my family to even go to college.
Wow.
And shortly after that, I was looking for jobs in Ohio. Like, I couldn't land a job. And it was, first of all, it was no jobs that piqued my interest. I remember I was driving home one day to our home, and I basically Youngstown, Ohio, with Tilly Public, a box restaurant. And I was looking around, and I was like, no wonder I can't find a job. There's nothing going on here. Like, there's no comments, there's nothing going on here. That's what I realized. If I want to break out of this small town mentality that I well often had, basically, I was very aware that my mind was probably corrupted by just, we always grew up pretty lower income, small mentality. I was barely out of that. I'm like, I gotta break out of this and probably start finding a job in a different state. So I had my eyes down. So we're studying. It was either Arizona, California. I actually got like consider.
Wow.
I was like, I want to go somewhere sunny. I'm tired of this. So I want sun, and I want to get out of here. I want to go somewhere where things are happening. And um, yeah, I did not say on top. I did what those my early sound, and I think I answered that. As best I could. Let's see what.
No, you covered everything which I wanted to go over, because that then helps me go into a question that I have about your father even. So when you were going from place to place, you're moving as a young child. It's something that I also have done. I've moved houses every 6 months for the past 4 years, and that's because of football. So I know what it's like to be the new kid at school. I've been the new kid at school in Australia schools. I've been the new kid at the school next door, and then I've also been the new kid at a school where you don't speak the language. And yeah, it's a wild, very weird experience. And also, I had never ever moved schools prior to that. So my whole childhood before, I was always looking at the new kids coming in and thinking, "Oh, I kind of hate to be that kid." And then I ended up being that kid. But yeah, it's a weird experience. But when you're going, you're moving, and then when you're a little bit older, you said that, for example, a fight club, you get expelled. Your father being a bishop, was that right? Awesome. Okay. So how did he respond to that, and how did he navigate that? Because he said that you then moved again. So what was that like at the time for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. My dad was a disciplinarian, so I grew up in cheer with my father. Because he was a disciplinarian. I'll just leave it at that. But there was certain things where I assumed that's gonna beat the shit out of me when he finds out about this. I'm in the principal's office. He's getting called. He's gonna find out I'm expelled. But there were certain things in my life where I saw my dad react a bit differently to that. Where I think he understood, like, okay, what's going on with you? Oh, what's is this environment that isn't good for him? For the first time, it wasn't. And I always used to get mad at my dad because he would always
Mhm.
finish just being an adult and teaching me about responsibility. Um, but I think what he realized there is that I probably needed help. I guess now, like, I looking back, because he didn't discipline me for it. It wasn't when I was expected. I was like, absolute fear. Hey, it was going to be bad. It was going to be bad. It wasn't bad. It said he, the decision to move, we need to change environments. We need to get you out of here. He was a bit more patient when I guess the situations I've been very more extreme. His response changed a little bit rather than just like, all right, time to discipline you.
Yes.
I'm not there, but I don't know what his logical, like, he was actually thinking. I just know at a certain point, his response to my behavior changed.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right. And when so you went to college, and you mentioned that there was a few things in college, right? And a few things that you probably regret now. And we don't have to go into that specifically, but what was it that flipped that switch for you? Because now, I mean, I'm looking at, and I'm speaking with Tim Fred right now, and from what I have heard about the younger version of Tim Fred, it's okay. The obsession for results, the competition probably is still there, but I think that it's in a different light now, right? So what was the switch for you?
The switch was broken.
Mhm.
And when I had a near-death experience when I was about 18 years old, this was actually before college. So I was at a high school graduation party, and my friend, I smoked weed at the time. I saw people pass around a bowl, and I said, hey, let me hit that. And I took a big rip of it, and my friend looked at me and said, oh shit. And I was like, why do you react like that? It's just weed, man. And the next thing I know, I'm getting very lightheaded, and I fall and actually I cracked my head on a rock,
Oh wow.
which did not help the situation. It actually was, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of K2 Spice.
No, I haven't.
It was one of those synthetic drugs like bath salts. It was in the heroin when all that stuff was popular. And I had a horrific experience that the human words kind of fail to describe. I got to experience death. I got to experience the most pure form of isolation that you can possibly imagine. I got to experience the concept of no more second chances, which is essentially death. Like every day we wake up with a heartbeat, it's like I have a chance a day to do things better. And this was, I had lost all my second chances. You're done. Whatever you've done to this point, good job, Tim. I'm taking you out of here. And I had a lot of time in my head to sit there with those feelings. And that broke my switch entirely. So there's not even like a switch anymore. It's just always on. And sometimes it goes way up. Sometimes it gets very dim. And I'm now learning how to actually be the one in control of when that happens, as opposed to having other people push it up for me or dim it down. Or people inspire me and elevate me, and now I'm fired up. You know, the temper that's on fire gets things done very quickly, like an addict. And then the temper that's completely defeated, no self-esteem, not getting anything done because someone like got in there and got control and affected my mind. You know, now I'm learning how to move that up and down myself, but and there's different phases in my life. I can talk about those where the dial has been pushed up immensely and where the dial has been pushed down immensely. Right now, it is 100% up. We're firing on all cylinders. But that was the big moment for me in life because I got to experience a thing we all push out of our minds, which is we're all going to die someday. I essentially did. And I got that over with in a way, if that makes sense. And I struggled for many years with that because it was not glorious. It was not this heavenly thing. It was dark, is the best way to put it. And I struggled with like finding optimism again in life when at the end of this, it's just, I did not like what I saw. And that was probably a reflection of my inner state at that time as well. That's not necessarily what everyone else is going to experience. But it definitely lit me up to stop playing small. You know, at that point, I was kind of pushed over. I wasn't that confident. I wasn't good with girls. I wasn't, you know, I would only react. I would never initiate, and that kind of that turned the switch up for me and made me realize it even exists. And that's what got me going in life was that very close call with the good old paramour.
Yeah. Wow. That's a crazy story, and I honestly haven't actually heard even a story like that. So, first of all, thank you for the vulnerability on this episode. It's commendable in that sense as well. So, yeah, I think I like the point that you mentioned how it's a concept that either you like run away from or you are shocked by it, and something that I actually think takes a lot of difficulty to do is to actually have an awareness of that being mortality, I think the word is, to where you have a hypersensitive awareness to there is an end to it. And it takes a lot of self-awareness to wake up every day thinking, today I'm grateful, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Now, of course, there will be people who have that way of thinking. And I actually do believe that for myself. A big reason why I do work so hard every single day is because I'm always grateful for today, because I don't know that tomorrow is guaranteed. But for you, you had that hit you, which is tougher than doing it the way that I have, or the way that, for example, the people who are hiding it, because they probably won't even realize because it's already hit them. So it's a very, for you, it was life-changing. For me, it's changing my life every day. And at the end, I think you kind of mentioned how at the moment, everything's good. And I think that this will probably be more of a consistent trend for you where there is more good than bad, because now you've dealt with the bad and you've realized that you can start to control more of the good, if that makes sense. Am I right with saying that?
100%. I always had everything in my life backwards. I always thought the things that were out of my control, I was able to control, and the things that were in my control, I was not able to control. I had everything backwards.
Mhm.
And once I realized to flip that around and understand what I can control and what's out of my control, the confidence I have to get my life in order and on track and keep it on track has completely changed. But that also involved a lot of other stuff as well, a whole different subject of getting my addictions under control, getting clean, clearing my mind, getting right, understanding kind of how those things are pitfalls for me personally as someone with a highly addictive behavior. So, and, I'm fairly new into it, but understanding that main concept of what is in my control, that's all I really need to focus on. And then dealing with the things that are out of my control would be much easier to handle in the future. But I can see now in my recent years how I have those things completely backwards. And no wonder it was hard to deal with mentally.
Yeah, very interesting. It does make sense because you're so aware of it, which is very important, because without that awareness, that doesn't allow you to improve it, which, and there's a saying, you can't improve what you don't track or manage. And that's very important, that at the time you didn't have that awareness, which is why you maybe couldn't have improved it. But upon reflection, to where you have a point where you're forced to reflect, which for you would have been the time where you had this, near-death experience, it forced you to reflect. And maybe it wasn't immediate because it's such a scary thing. The way you described it, right? You said that this was before college, and even in college you still suffered, but it's this moment that still rings true to you, and it probably still rings true to a lot of things that you do today. The reason why you may be so competitive is because of specific things, and there's so many different reasons where they intertwine together, but it comes through this heightened level of self-awareness, I believe.
100%. I had a recent rock bottom moment as well, which is what really got my ass in gear, because that was all my fault. There was no near-death experience to blame. There was no, I realized that's when I was able, for the first time in my life, to just be a man and take full responsibility for it. This is my fault. What am I doing wrong? It's time to stop blaming. Because, people will often disappoint you. And who am I to judge them or judging the people for the ways that they have caused harm in my life when I often make mistakes? Like, anyway, I don't want to get off into a side subject on that, but my most recent rock bottom was when I was able to realize this is all my fault, and that's great, because that means I can also be the solution to this as well.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And I'm very glad that also, again, you have the awareness to then take the responsibility for it. Now with that, you mentioned your personality being very addictive, and something that I can completely relate to you on that is that if you ask anybody who I've worked with in the last 5 years, and you ask them probably the most obvious attribute that I have, it would probably be addictive. Now, I have set boundaries from a very young age so that it's either black or white for me. Either I do everything or I do absolutely nothing. Now, I've had these barriers because I always knew this was my personality type. But for you, how have you started to change and manage the addiction from being something that, now I'm not saying it was negative to where it's life destroying, but if it was hindering you, how were you able to then turn that into a positive?
Absolutely. So that's a beautiful thing about being, look, I love my fellow addicts. I love obsessives. I love people with this tendency. I used to be jealous. I used to feel a bit ashamed when I would tell someone like, oh, I have an addictive personality, and they'd be like, wow, why can't you just have one? Why can't you control yourself? And I used to think like, ooh, lucky them. You know, they're able to just, you know,
Be okay with, yeah, yeah.
they're like, lucky them, it must be nice. And now I realize it won't be at all. I'm very grateful of it. I'm very grateful of it. Again, like you said, the key is to understanding how to use it positively. So the main thing I look at is, what can I do that I know I will not regret? And I've identified those things and then just get addicted to those things. So I found I've never regretted going to the gym. Never once, not ever.
I don't think you will, by the way. I don't think you will, by the way. Yeah.
Even if I injure myself, now there's some annoyance when you injure your back, but why am I annoyed? It's not because I have injured, it's because now I might not be able to work out tomorrow. That's the only reason it's annoying. So I've never regretted going to the gym. I've never regretted helping other people. There's a dopamine release you get when you help other people. I've never regretted progressing in the workplace. So now there was a process. First, I had to heal my brain when I was getting out of the addiction. You know, all the systems are messed up, and you gotta let your brain kind of reboot. But now, like, I can feel like I'm back in a way, and I just choose to be addicted to things that are going to move my life forward, and I give myself permission to be that way. I work a lot. I check my emails a lot. I spend a lot of time at work during the week and on the weekends. I am addicted to working. And most people will say, hey, that's not healthy, that's not good. And I just understand that they don't get it. And in fact, I like it. I like when I catch people saying, like, oh, you work too much. Or I like when people say that. Because I'm like, yeah, you think so. You know? So I get addicted to, and the main thing I'm working on now is because I used to get addicted to working out, and I would do it too much to the point where I was putting off other responsibilities. So, for example, I would just go run for 8 hours when I probably needed to get some things done that day. So now I'm getting very disciplined. I work out every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. or from 5:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. So I work out hard for an hour and a half. So I get my hard workout in, but I'm not using up my entire day being addicted to working out. I still get it in and then make time for the other stuff that I need to have as well. But what I found is there were certain addictions I just needed to cut off. Right? So my drinking, my drugs, all that, just cold turkey. And then moving to the positive addictions, for me, that was, at first, it was going to meetings with like-minded people and having very intense stories of what this life is like as an addict and getting that community. That was one of the first things I replaced it with. Next was the working out. After that was the eating healthier. And then as I found as I've been very disciplined with those habits, the other bad addictions just seem to fall off. You know, the porn, the wasting time on social media, like these kind of low vibration vices we have just lost their appeal because the reward of the positive addictions I've had just outweigh it. So ultimately, once the reward of something is more important to you than whatever the bad addiction is, then it's very easy to just remove that and understand this is not moving me forward. This is, I'm addicted, so I'm going to do what moves me forward, you know, because that's what my focus is on.
I really like your point. How you even said this prior, where you realize that everything that hinders you, you do the opposite of. And then you also mentioned that when you were at your lowest, it was because of you're only focusing on yourself. And when you're at the highest, you do everything the opposite, which I really do relate with you on. And I think that we could have a whole nother conversation about addiction because I see that you also have that. And when we talk about people like Tim Grover, when I remember the first time that I read Relentless, I think it was saying how you might not understand this and you probably shouldn't. And the people who do, they know, they understand. And when you do understand and you think, oh, I'm not the only crazy one, then there's method to the madness. And when you start realizing there's method to the madness, you're not the only one, you're like, all right, I'm here now. I understand. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. So
It's such a beautiful weight off your shoulders. Tim Grover is a national treasure. He should be protected at all costs.
yeah,
Because he is really like the true figure that I found in this life that I know 100% when it comes to the competitive mindset, I can trust what he says. And he's speaking the truth and he's talking, he's being very honest about the things that everyone else has kind of kept secret, you know, about what competitors are really like and what it's really like to be this type of person and that it's a gift. You know, he's kind of given the permission to all of us to, like, yeah, you're crazy, like, start taking it as a compliment, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny that you say that because even what you mentioned before, how people are saying, slow down, the addiction's like taking control of you almost. They're telling you, relax. I have always said to my parents, okay, thank you, but I'm not going to listen to you. The only person who I will ever listen to is Tim Grover. And until Tim Grover tells me I'm doing too much, then I'm not doing enough. And I'm still waiting for that day, and I'm only gonna listen to him because he's the only one that I trust on that level. Because when you're working with the greats, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, I believe he's still working with some of the soccer players in England. That's someone who I trust. Now, of course, I trust my parents, but I don't trust my parents for becoming the best athlete in the world because my parents are the best athletes in the world. So I'm going to listen to the guy who knows how to do it, which is Tim Grover. But I'm very aware of the time. So I want to go into the last question that I've got for you, Tim, which is, what are 3 ways that you sculpt yourself on a daily basis? And you've already kind of mentioned how you've got your early mornings, you do your workout early, but what are the 3 things that you do every single day to sculpt yourself?
I wake up in the morning and I shut up and I listen. Specifically, I get on my knees and I shut up and I listen and I talk. Immediately after that, I work out. So again, like we discussed. So first thing, get on my knees, shut up and listen and have a conversation. Second thing is get the body, get a hard workout in, get it over with. So that way it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day, you've already got that out of the way. And the third thing is at the end of the night, I put my phone away and I go on a walk. And again, I have a conversation with myself. And a walk is just for me. I have a route I run, but I basically run to the end of, or I walk to the end of the street. On the way to the end of it, the first way, I just observe my thoughts. So there's not a whole lot of conversation I'm having with myself. I just observe my thoughts. On the way back, I have a conversation with myself about what did I do wrong today, what could I do better. If I'm being rigorously honest with myself, where am I fucking up? And I try to talk to myself like a best friend and a coach, because a best friend might give you nice advice. I'd rather get to the pure honesty that only I can know. So first thing, simply, some people call it meditation. thing number one, sit, get on my knees, listen, talk. Two, get a savage workout in, get a hard workout in. And then at the end of the night, put away all distractions and have some time alone. Those are the three things I do consistently to start with my day.
I love it. That's very, very, very profound and powerful, I think. And I'm glad that you actually have these three things consistent every single day, because the reflection, you have a lot of reflection in there, which helps with self-awareness. And I believe that when you're very self-aware, you are able to stay in alignment with where you want to go much more consistently, because you're able to identify patterns. And when you're able to identify patterns, you don't steer away too much. You might go down a bit of a path, but you've got this self-awareness that keeps you down and it keeps you in alignment with where you want to go, which I think is very, very important. But Tim, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate the hour that we've had. Many things that we've covered, and I think there's so many valuable things in here for our listeners, because there will be people who are probably also addicted, and they might not know how to take control of their addictions. And you are the prime example of someone actually re-controlling their addictions. For me, it's very easy because I've never had that, where I've never needed to take control of it, because I've always put the boundaries there. But for someone who, and that's an exception. I don't think most people are like that. I think most people would be similar to you, who are, I think even with addictions, there would be, most people I think can't control them from a young age. So I appreciate the vulnerability. I appreciate the time. It was excellent to sit down with you today.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with me as well. I very much appreciate it. And I'll be happy to do it again. Maybe another conversation just on addiction.
Yeah.
That's the whole time.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Tim, again, thank you so much. And yeah, it was an awesome episode.
Thank you.
Perfect.